Well, earlier on, I did talk to you about AI, and a lot of people already have been asking questions about especially the opportunities. And I will not be talking about AI. I'm not the expert. And in studio, I am joined by Ray Chang and also David Millery, the CEO, Executive Director of Plus International. And also we have the business partner, HR Inua AI, Naomi Karing. Thank you so much for joining us. I would like to just begin by asking a simple question, because sometimes when people hear the conversation of AI, a lot of times people assume I'm not technical, I didn't even study, and people even think it has to only do with computers. But just give us a definition of what AI is and also examples of how in our daily life we use AI.
Yes. Well, thank you for this opportunity and for the invitation, Cynthia. It's a
You're
pleasure
welcome.
to be here today. And I think your comment, I think, is for a lot of people, because AI is currently something that's used globally, and it's still a concept that's not fully defined. So we all need to understand that. And I think that many places and countries are trying to figure out what is AI and how to leverage it.
Yes.
For me, I think the best way to describe it is AI is an accelerant. It's an accelerant similar to what we've had before, where products came into the marketplace and accelerated our productivity.
Yes.
So basically back in the day, we had Microsoft Office products, and suddenly everything went from paper-based to electronic-based. That was an accelerant.
Yes.
AI is that, but 10 times that. That's the potential of AI. But with everything like in technology, it needs to be harnessed correctly.
Yes.
So what I would say, in order to frame it properly for the people of Kenya, is that because AI is an accelerant, it has the potential of accelerating our businesses in the right way. And if our businesses are accelerated using AI, then the productivity goes up, and what is the result is more opportunity and more business.
Yes.
So if you have a good business plan, AI will accelerate the goodness of the plan. But if your business plan doesn't have the basic fundamentals of business, of supply and demand, of a market and that understanding, AI will do nothing. So it is an accelerant, but still the foundations of business need to be prioritized.
Yes, yes. And how do people interface with AI in their normal lives so that people realize it's a normal thing, we have been using it for a while?
Well, it's everywhere.
Yes.
And of course, where you go to different parts of the world, you have different levels of AI in effect.
Yes.
But what I can say is that currently, AI can be used to accelerate things that had to be done before. So for example, before, if you had to program something, somebody would sit down and write a program. It would take them 2 hours to write the program. Now they can use something like ChatGPT, a large language module, and that code is generated automatically, but they still have to verify that it's good. So AI in itself cannot solve the problem. But what it did was it bought you 2 hours to do something else that's more productive.
Yes, yes.
And so the opportunity is, from a business standpoint, can we then have where the gaps are and where the slowness is in business, can we deploy AI to accelerate the business?
Yes, and how can Kenyan businesses then use AI and also data analytics, especially when it comes to coming up with their strategies? Because you also really talked about the future and planning. How can businesses use that?
Well, the data is everything right now. We are a data-driven world, a data-driven economy, and that's where the words digital economy, when we're talking digital economy, the backbone of digital economy is the data set. The problem is, not all data sets are created equal. You may have a good data set, or you may have a bad data set. If you apply something to a bad data set, you cannot expect miracles. So again, that goes to the foundation of saying, is my data set good? Is the structure good? Do I have repetition? Do I have errors? If you apply AI to something that poor, it's going to accelerate the poorness of that.
Yes, obviously.
So I think that sometimes we have to take a step back from the buzzwords of the technology and make sure our fundamentals are strong,
yes,
and then apply the artificial intelligence to those fundamentals.
Yes. And what specific skills would you say are most crucial for professionals as AI and data analytics becomes more prominent, especially in businesses?
Oh, yes, it has been prominent and it continues to become more prominent. The ability for leveraging data in the right way to accelerate your business is a skill set that can be learned.
Yeah.
And it comes through experience, of course. And then when you start to learn the basics of that data set and the power of it, applying AI to that accelerates the power. So now your ability to do, the reason why other countries are very successful and we can be successful is because of the speed of business. It's not because of business, it's the speed at which business is done.
Yes.
So if we use AI to accelerate our businesses in the right way, then we will see a growth of not only business,
yes,
but opportunity,
yes,
within the business.
You've mentioned using it in the right way. And even as you talk to businesses and in your experience, what are some of the challenges that businesses are facing as they adapt to AI, and how can they overcome some of these challenges?
I think some of the challenges that business have is that there's a saying, you run before you walk. Well, you need to walk first. So I think businesses struggle when their fundamentals aren't the best.
Yes.
And then they try not only apply AI technology, but technology in general. It doesn't work. So again, I know I'm saying it a lot, but I think the foundations need to be correct. Our young people, yes, they can develop AI techniques, AI
Yes.
modules. You'll see it on TikTok, you'll see it in social media. They're very good at that. But we want them to apply to real business.
Yes.
And that's where we need to take them from doing that to teaching them the fundamentals of business. Then when we combine the two,
Yes.
the natural skill set that they have because they have fun doing it,
Yes.
with the seriousness of business, then you have something very good.
Yes, yes. I'll come back and continue still with the opportunities in AI, but you just had a conference for the last 4 days. Tell us a little bit what the conference was all about.
Yeah, so we are from the company Rising Sun Consultants,
Yes.
where we specialize in helping purpose-driven organizations support leaders to become better leaders
Yes.
through the power of servant leadership. We believe like good business is caring for the high performance of the organization,
Yes.
caring for the high care, high flourishing employee wealth, health, and also caring for community engagement. When you do those things well, it's a good business.
Yes.
You don't have to choose one or the other, that you
Yes.
pour deeply and you care well, and we
Yes.
call those the power of servant leadership.
Yes. Naomi, what is servant leadership?
Servant leadership entails serving others.
Yes.
Serving others in the capacity that we have. So, and here really our focus was mostly on impact.
Yes.
So then what impact do we as leaders have to our teams?
Yes.
So, and it's about engaging, creating an environment where people feel like they're engaged in the sense of like I can approach my leader is approachable. Also an aspect of, so then how do we then create this, how does this impact then translate to them?
Yes.
So by probing, asking questions, helping, it's not my responsibility for me as a leader to think on behalf of my subordinate.
Yes.
It's about creating an environment where we can probe questions, we can come to agreements and discussions together.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And in your experience, how effective is servant leadership as compared to other ways of leading?
Yeah, so in our 20 years supporting organizations, we believe that it has helped significant impact in that it just makes sense when employees and managers authentically care for one another well. It brings out the best in people. Bringing out the best in people to give of their best, not only to each other, but also to draw out the best in supporting the organization.
Yes, but businesses are about bringing out the best profit, the highest profit.
And that's exactly what I'm referring to, that
Yes.
it's not a either-or proposition. when we talk about the foundations of a good business,
Yes.
yes, you need to have a high profit, and that matters a lot.
Yes.
But high profits is not mutually exclusive
Yes.
from a high care environment.
Yes.
When you care for employees well, it turns into high profits.
Yes.
And it also turns into high care for the community. So yeah, so we believe that serving people well translates to high client engagement,
Yes.
high employee engagement,
Yes.
and high community engagement.
Yes. Naomi, how easy is it to have that discussion in our culture where we are taught even right from school, you have a leader that's the boss, stand up, talk to them, show them respect. It doesn't even matter if your teacher is right or wrong, the teacher or the leader is always right. How easy is it to have that kind of conversation and having that leadership style?
To be honest, it's tough.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah, and interesting enough, we were not only just the Inua team.
Yes.
We did have also people that were working also in Rwanda, in Burundi, in
Yes.
Congo, and we
Yeah.
also got to learn how do they then
Yes.
in their work situations, how does these cultural differences look like in the organization?
Yes.
So it was mostly just like learning discussions to figure out then what then becomes the in-between. How then do I approach my leader, having in mind these cross-cultural differences and how we were brought up, thinking, this is my boss, I need to be a certain way. But honestly, what it comes down to is just having, as a leader, being approachable.
Yes.
That's the most, because when you are approachable, then the issue about culture doesn't become such a like a big hurdle to get over, because then if I know my leader is approachable, I will give the person respect,
Yes.
but I'm also free to communicate and bring forward to them things that I'm struggling with, the areas that I need support on, which is also important to driving the business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go back to AI and data analytics. And a lot of times people fear, especially when it comes to the collection of data, people really talk about privacy, and that has become a major concern and one of the conversations. How can a company protect the data that they collect, data of their customers and any other data that they have?
It depends where the company is in its evolution. Companies are so different, but there's a possibility that you may have an old data set and now a new data set, and you have to protect so data sets aren't the same, and so the more complex the issue or the company is, then that issue becomes more complex.
Yes.
But I think that just like with fundamental business values, you can strategize on that protection of the data. The question is, are companies doing it? Because as you said, profits are maximized. So if you cut corners on the security, then you're not protecting the data because profits need to be maximized.
Yes.
So I think that that's where we run into trouble. So if we don't have the proper attitude at the leadership position in terms of servant leadership, then why would we care about the data set as long as we're making profits? So that's why this conference was very important, because it brought together that actually servant leadership leads to healthy organizations that lead to healthy profits for a long time.
And also, how do you then build a trust? Because AI is not going anywhere. And also we see that even when it comes to data, it's not going anywhere. So how do we increase then
the trust?
Yes.
The trust factor?
Yes.
Just like any trust factor is increased, better communication.
Yes.
When you have a lot of questions and people scratching their heads as to what's going on, it becomes difficult. And I think this applies to private industry, but it also applies to our government institutions. And I think that the private sector can really instruct, have best practices that they can offer to the government to say, this is how we will protect. But the communication of it has to be there so that there's no questions asked. And sometimes the communication is held within a few people and not to the public general public at large, which is why your role is so important, because you bring it to the forefront.
Yes, and also the conference that happened.
Well, the conference that happened, absolutely. The conference was an education for our young leaders that there's a different way of doing it. That maybe you've seen an authoritarian way of doing things, but maybe that's not the future.
Yes.
There's another way. And it was an amazing result this week when we saw them interact positively with confidence. We said, yes, this was worth doing because it educated them in a way that they weren't used to.
Yes. And Naomi, for you, what was the highlight of the conference or the 4 days?
Okay. My highlight was more so the opportunity that I saw to do things differently in future. I saw, we did role plays, and I got an opportunity to see, you know what, this is a point of improvement for myself moving forward, even with the employees that I manage. So for me, it was the opportunity to do things differently, having this knowledge of throughout the week about servant leadership.
Yes. And for you, your highlight on the conference?
My highlight is simply just seeing these universal principles of servant leadership is alive and well across, across countries. That young people in Kenya are hungry. They are passionate to grow. They are hungry to learn. They are eager to achieve more. And I'm excited for the future of Kenya.
Yes. I want to go back to AI, and I'm sorry, I have to ask the questions people are asking, and a lot of them are just talking about the challenges and the fears that they have. One of the fears that people have is that AI is probably going to replace them in the workplace. Is this a legitimate fear?
It's not.
Yes.
It's not, because we've had other products come up in history and the same fear was there.
Yes.
When we used to do accounting with just ledgers and no software. Well, we have many more accountants today than we had then. Why? Because the general economy and the gross domestic product has risen. Well, that's what's going to happen with the right implementation of AI. Everything will rise, and it'll rise for everybody if it's implemented correctly, not just a few people. So I would, instead of a spirit of fear, I think we need to turn it to say there is real opportunity here. If we manage to combine good business principles with AI, then the future is unlimited.
What would you say for you, even as you're saying that the future AI gives us an unlimited future? If Kenya embraces, and especially when it comes to industries, AI, and we have been talking a lot about our industries and even manufacturing, what does that mean for the Kenyan economy if we embrace it?
I think it'll speed up. I think that it will speed up the economy, and the speed of the economy creates opportunity. When economies are stunted and they're slowed down because of infrastructure problems, because of politics, then you'll see a negative effect. But now this technology has a way to accelerate us more than anything we've ever seen. And if Kenya is serious about this, the right investments will be made, not just in AI, but then fundamentally strengthening our fundamentals of business. And I think that that has to happen hand in hand. So I would say don't have a fear of AI, have an optimism because of the opportunity to come.
And even with your discussions in different countries and also companies, how much is Africa embracing AI?
I think that Africa realizes AI is going to be fundamental to them quicker than they did before. So if I was to compare what happened 20, 25, 30 years ago, I think we were slow in adoption. But I don't think that anymore. I think because of our history and where we are as a country, we are now at the cusp of saying, no, we won't be left behind. And the opportunity is to innovate here and not just use AI that's provided to us. But we should innovate here and create the AI that we export to other countries. So we've not done that really well. Even with old technology, we've always used technology from elsewhere. But this is the opportunity to innovate here. And I think that I see the markers of that happening in multiple ways.
Do you think AI would make the great equalizer, especially for African and developing countries?
I think so, because where technology is today, we are connected globally. When we educate our young people at Inua AI, some coming from very difficult circumstances. We tell them that they have to be competitive globally.
Yes.
Not just here, not just with the West, but globally. What does that mean? So I think those are fundamental. They don't have anything to do with AI. It has to do with the mindset.
Yes.
Oh, why are we competing globally?
Yes.
Why should we do that?
Yes.
But I think those questions can be answered very easily.
Yes.
So I think the answers to those questions, if they're correct, then you add AI to it, then you have something powerful.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm not the expert. People were asking me questions. I'm so glad that in studio I was joined by all of you just to even tell us more a little bit about the opportunities and also about your conference and on servant leadership. That's a conversation that might need a whole day. But
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us
Thank you,
today.
Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia.